Oh, well, hello, everyone.
Hello, Pascal.
Today, we're going to learn all about the Kingdom of Day and Kingdom of Night.
Okay.
I'm sure you could tell, but the place where we are now is called the Kingdom of Day because it never turns to night here. Oh, do you all know what night is?
We don't know. Hey, I know.
Night happens when light from a star called the sun doesn't reach wherever we are. If it didn't reach here, then the light from the sky would be gone in an instant.
Scary.
And in the Kingdom of Night, where the light of day does not reach, a giant creature called a dragon flies through the skies.
Hey. So scary.
This was the official confirmation we needed. With all the discussion around where a new NieR game could go, many of us that know of the lore are pretty confidently pointing in one direction: the Kingdom of Night. After the 9th anniversary event that hinted at a NieR Automata sequel, I actually made a video where I was stating that I believe the next game would take us to the Kingdom of Night and potentially show us the origins of Accord. Now, I'll be real, at the time I was too hyped to really bother to get into the details on either, but I've been wanting to get into making some more NieR content anyway, and so I thought discussing the Kingdom of Night would be a good place to start. So what actually is the Kingdom of Night? Well, you don't have to look much further than just the NieR wiki to find out that the Kingdom of Night is also called the Night Kingdom or the Nightlands, and is the region of Earth covering both North and South America. It exists in constant night, while the Kingdom of Day is the side of the world where NieR Replicant and Automata have taken place. In the 27th century, the moon fractured by an unknown event. Earth's axis shifted and the normal day and night cycle was disrupted. And thus, we have the creation of the Kingdom of Day and the Kingdom of Night. So naturally, of course, this is why when you play Replicant and Automata, it is always day rather than nighttime. Now sure, we could make the argument that the actual reason that this is the case is because of technical and budget limitations with the first game, where Taro couldn't create a day and night cycle, but at least they provided an in-universe reason for it, even if it does sometimes lead to some head scratching from the uber nerds of the community. But what this obviously means is that we've only ever been experiencing one side of the world of NieR. The other half is just sitting there in the lore in permanent darkness, barely explored, with a completely different history attached to it. And that history is where things get interesting. According to the timeline that can be found in the NieR Automata strategy guide, the aliens first attacked Earth in the year 5012. The Army of Humanity was then formed a year later in 5013, and by 5024, the aliens had managed to conquer North and South America, whilst also beginning the production of the machines. So the Kingdom of Night was one of the first major fronts of the alien war. And so effectively, this means that the Kingdom of Night was the origin point for the entire war that we played through in Automata. And then of course, there are the dragons. In the year 6230, the Army of Humanity began using a weapon called Dragon in the country of Night. Now, in another story, maybe I would let that slide. Maybe Dragon is just a code name. Maybe it is just a big military machine. Maybe it's just something that they thought sounded cool. But this is NieR. This is the series that came from Drakengard. And so in that case, the word dragon carries a very obvious mind-bending implication that lore nerds have already considered. I'm sure by now many of you know that the original NieR exists because of Drakengard's ending E. We have a dragon, a giant, magic, which all lead to white coronation syndrome, red eyes, and all of the madness that eventually leads into the world of NieR. So when the timeline says the Army of Humanity created dragon weapons in the Kingdom of Night, the obvious question any Drakengard fan is going to be asking is, what kind of dragons are we actually talking about? And just to be clear, we don't actually know. The dragon weapons are not confirmed to truly be the same thing as the Drakengard dragons, but when Taro was asked whether the dragon weapons deployed in the Kingdom of Night relate to Drakengard, his answer was basically that it is still a secret. And that is the kind of answer where I'm like, okay, so it's not confirmed, but also pretty much confirmed. Now, that being said, Taro does have a habit of throwing Drakengard things in our face in NieR and doing absolutely nothing with it. But then, years later, the anime comes along and explicitly confirms that dragons fly through the night sky. This is a very interesting detail because it shows that they outright wanted to acknowledge it and ensure that we know that yes, the dragons over there are the dragons we're thinking of. And they not only mention the dragons as a key detail being associated with the Night Kingdom, but in true NieR fashion, Pascal is basically taken out before he can say anything else. It's almost like he had to be silenced to maintain the mystery. I guess Taro truly does want to keep his secrets close on this one. So, with that being the case, the information we have on the Kingdom of Night is scarce. But there's actually some details many people don't know about tucked away within the YorHa Boys novel. Now, the novel is mostly just a decent prequel piece that translates and adapts the stage play of the same name. It expands on some of the events leading up to Automata, and as such, takes place entirely in the Kingdom of Day. But very early into the story, and I mean literally just 15 pages in, there's an interesting moment where a male android called Number 9 states that these dragon weapons cannot be deployed in the Kingdom of Day. And then later on in the novel, on page 237, the M Squadron units that rebel plan to escape to the Kingdom of Night because YorHa Command has no authority there. They believe that the androids already in the Nightlands wouldn't be able to stop them either because they most likely weren't state-of-the-art models like YorHa androids are. And besides, they would be too preoccupied managing the dragon weapons. Now these to me are some very underrated details. Because this means the Kingdom of Night is not just a physically different location, it is also politically and militarily different as well. For some reason, the dragon weapons cannot just be flown over to the Day Kingdom. Now, whether this is due to a physical, political, or perhaps even metaphysical limitation is unknown. But it would explain why the dragons are solely associated with the Kingdom of Night, and we've never seen them in Replicant or Automata. But let's not skip over the fact that it's basically mentioned that YorHa Command cannot just casually reach into the Kingdom of Night either. So YorHa is somehow separate from whatever commanding authority exists over there, hence it basically being out of their jurisdiction. It's a very strange thing though, isn't it? Because you'd think, given the fact that all the androids are fighting against the machines and their alien creators, that they would have a bit more of a coordinated effort and cooperation. But Number 9's words seem to imply otherwise, because if they can just escape over there and not have to worry about YorHa Command pursuing them, then clearly there's a separation in how these places operate. In addition to this, things get really intriguing when we dig into the following claims. If the Kingdom of Night androids aren't state of the art like YorHa, then I would assume this means they're more like the androids we find in the Day Kingdom's resistance. The NieR Automata anime did a good job of showing the difference between them and YorHa androids, so it's sensible to believe Number 9 that if a number of male YorHa androids went over there, the regular android types likely wouldn't be capable of countering them, especially not, as he puts it, since they have their hands full with the dragon weapons. Now of course, this is the big detail. Not only does this line in the novel once again confirm the dragons as being heavily linked to the Night Kingdom, but it also suggests that the androids over there are putting so much attention into their research that they don't have any time to worry about a group of random YorHa boys. Regardless, taking all these details from the novel into account, I think you can start to paint a very compelling picture for a new NieR game. And now this is where I should briefly mention some of the Drakengard speculation. Fire Sanctuary's Kingdom of Night summary notes that there are events in the Kingdom of Night that may be directly related to the temporal anomaly involving the Cathedral City, the dragons, magic, and even the flower. Now, there is a much bigger theory discussion to be had there about whether the Yokoverse timeline is less of a straight line and more of a loop, where NieR's far future may somehow feed back into Drakengard's ancient past. But I think that deserves its own video. Because if I start properly getting into the Cathedral City, Accord, the Flower, Drakengard 3, and all of that timeline madness now, then this video is going to collapse into a completely different beast. So for now, the main point is simple. The Kingdom of Night is currently the strongest known candidate for where NieR science fiction and Drakengard's fantasy horror may overlap. So when you consider everything that I just laid out, to me, it's pretty obvious that the Kingdom of Night would be the best place for a new NieR game to take place in. But don't just take my word for it. During the NieR Replicant and Gestalt 10th anniversary livestream, the website Fire Sanctuary stated that the final portion of the special event was broadcast only to Nico Premium members, and that this was where Yoko revealed some of the Accord and Kingdom of Night material. Now, the reason why I want to point that out is because I think it's worth noting that he basically put this information behind a paywall. But of course, thanks to Rekka Alexiel, we got the translation and summary. So one of the things that Taro says in it is that the reason why the Kingdom of Night was not discussed much in Automata was simply because it was not necessary to that game's story. And okay, that makes sense. I mean, Automata was not really about showing us the entire planet, was it? It was more about YorHa, the machines, and the existential rot at the center of their endless war. The Kingdom of Night did not need to really be brought up much or explored because Automata already had its own dramatic focus. But then Saito says something very interesting. He says that whenever the next NieR game comes out, that we'll probably end up over there. Now, obviously, that is not an explicit announcement. It's not NieR 3 Kingdom of Night confirmed. But I mean, if the producer himself is saying that the next game would probably end up there, then this is not just fans like me connecting random dots on a corkboard. The people making these games also seem to understand that this is the natural direction. And just as importantly, back then he was basically letting us know that there were considerations for another game, which again, the 9th anniversary event for Automata pretty much also confirmed. Now, I've pretty much explained everything that we know on paper about the Kingdom of Night, so I could just end the video here. However, you may have noticed the image I used for the thumbnail of this video and have wondered where exactly it came from. A Reddit user called Shinichikawa posted an old piece of NieR concept art from Grimoire NieR's revised edition, and they were pondering the possibility that it could be an early visual idea for the Kingdom of Night. Now, when you look at the image, you have this strange nocturnal cityscape, a night sky, and what appears to be a shattered moon. And once you know the Kingdom of Night is tied to the moon being fractured and the world's day-night cycle breaking, it is very hard to not look at that and think, yeah, that's got to be what it is. It's very interesting because it means that the concept for a place like the Kingdom of Night and of course the Shattered Moon were there from the very beginning, even if the lore behind it wasn't fully realized just yet. Now, to cover my ass as a content creator, obviously I have to say that this is just speculation, but listen, between me and you, I mean, come on now, like, come on. Now, honestly, even if it is not literally the Kingdom of Night, it still captures the kind of feeling that I think I would want from that place. Not just Automata's ruined city with the brightness turned down, but a strange, nocturnal sort of civilization. And listen, just on a personal note, let me tell you why the Kingdom of Night to me is so compelling. If you really think about it, our entire understanding of what NieR, in terms of the world is entirely based on only one side of the planet. The Kingdom of Day gave us replicants, gestalts, androids, machines, YorHa, and the Resistance. But the Kingdom of Night is still there, completely untouched. The side of Earth where the aliens conquered the Americas, where the machine lifeforms, the dragons, and the very first Accord androids were born. And of course, the potential origin point of the Cathedral City in Drakengard. And one of the things over the years I've not really seen a lot of people discuss very much when it comes to the Kingdom of Night, is that if you take all of this into account, if all of these things are in fact true, then the Kingdom of Night is not just the other side of NieR's world. It could also be the most advanced. Because if Accord was really created there alongside the dragons, then whoever or whatever exists in the Night Kingdom may understand things that YorHa clearly does not. White Coronation Syndrome, the Red Eye Disease, Meso, the Drakengard world, maybe even the mechanics of crossing between branches and dimensions. And that is the thing with Accord that has always stood out to me. In Drakengard 3, who exactly is she even reporting back to? Who is briefing her and the other Accords in giving them their missions? Based on what we know from YorHa boys, it's very unlikely it's YorHa or some related branch. So how did the people in the Kingdom of Night create a type of android that's capable of observing singularities, traveling across timelines, and operating in a completely different dimension? Unless they had some explicit knowledge of that other world and some means of reaching it.
境界都市についての記録だよ。
記録？
ゼロ。不思議だと思わないか？魔法発祥の地とされるこの境界都市。ここには私たちの持ち得ない技術が使われている。なぜ古代文明の技術は失われたのか。古代文明の人々はどこに行ったのか。それを調べれば、私たち歌うたいの存在する意味もたどれるかと思ってね。
Now, from everything we've seen in Replicant and Automata, to me, YorHa does not seem capable of doing any of that. The Replicant era definitely does not have anyone who's capable of doing any of that. So, if the Kingdom of Night possesses the ability to create dimension jumping androids and dragons, then we may be dealing with a level of android civilization, research and forbidden knowledge that is far beyond anything the main games have ever shown us. For the fanatics like me that want NieR to finally stop dancing around this Drakengard roots and bring that connection directly into the plot, I think the Kingdom of Night is absolutely the best bet we have of seeing this happen. Even if it doesn't happen, and in true Taro fashion, we get something mostly unrelated, well, as much as I'll be annoyed by it, and I will be annoyed by it, I trust it'll be a spectacular experience regardless. Hopefully, sometime in the future, the near future, we finally get to see just what exactly is going on the dark side of the planet. But until then, my name is NextGenNovelist, and that's all I've got to say, and I'm out. Peace.